Welcome to Around the Bases, the pop culture and sports podcast with your hosts,
Charlie Seymour. And we have a special guest with us today.
Hi, it's Stephanie from the floor.
Stephanie
from the floor.
In nice, balmy San Antonio.
I love that. I love San Antonio. One of my favorite cities, definitely. I love Riverwalk. Welcome.
Thank you for having me, guys.
I think we're making history here, guys. I think this is the first podcast that has cast members from We Are Family and the Floor together. So there you go. We're making history. Fox history. How are you doing?
Want to interview more floor people? I know they'd be down for it.
Oh yeah, 100%. I follow a bunch of you guys on Instagram. You're all awesome. I love you guys. You guys are terrific. Good people.
That's one of the problems we had on the show is the producers told us we weren't mean enough to each other.
I think you did well. I mean, it wasn't intentional, but I think there was good gamesmanship. Would you agree, Charlie?
Yeah, they would cut to you guys in the crowd a lot, and you could hear someone and they'd put the closed captioning on. You could say, "Oh, I would have totally won that." That was working.
They used to come on the floor and tell us to trash talk.
So they were literally
they were encouraging it.
They were the contesting coordinators would be like, "You need to trash talk. She's this and she's that," and that type of thing.
They wouldn't tell us what to say, but it got to the point where they came out and they basically talked to all of us. And they're like, "You guys are doing great. We love the support. We love the camaraderie. But can you be a little bit meaner and trash talk each other a little bit more?"
That's great. That's great.
I love that.
So
I love that.
That's why it started to pick up more in the later episodes. So, but we're all free. Have a group chat with 67 contestants in it, and we talk every single day.
And I can imagine too, as you guys got deeper into the show and less of you remained, the trash talking would naturally pick up a little bit more too, just because you know what's going on.
Yeah, and it got very I was extremely self-conscious. There's a couple Reddit threads about the floor. And someone on there made a comment and asked a question, and they were like, "Oh man, is Stephanie as nice as she seems, or is that just all an act for TV?" And one of my fellow contestants was like, "No, she's really that nice," and she was super concerned about the way that she was going to be perceived having won multiple times, and she was very self-conscious about it, which was true. I was absolutely petrified about what the viewers would think of me because I just kept dominating and I was so nervous about it. And so it was really nice to have, again, like I said, we're friends. So it was nice to have my friends on the show kind of have my back a little bit and be like, "No, she's really nice and she deserves it." So
I remember after one of the days you were winning, they showed you in the audience and you were rooting for the other person to at least tie it.
Yeah, because I was not greedy. My ultimate goal going into it was to win enough for a car. My husband's car died a couple months after we started dating. And so basically our entire relationship, we've been a one-car couple. And it was getting difficult. So I literally just wanted to win enough to buy a cheap beater car. I had price point differences. I had cheap cars, mid-range cars, little bit nicer mid-range cars, and then if I won the whole thing, I get a Tesla or whatever.
I love that. Goals.
So when I won horror movies, that would have been good enough for me because I knew I could at least get a cheap car. And that was my number one goal. So then when I won more, I upgraded my car a little bit and got a little bit of a nicer car, and it's going to pay for our honeymoon in December. And it's paying for my dog's chemo. So it's fantastic. It's really come in handy. So yeah.
Yeah, that's great. You did so well. You deserved it.
Thank you. And I have to say, it was a very baller feeling to walk into a car dealership and be like, "I want that car," and just hand them a check.
So awesome.
Walk out with the title in my name, free and clear, and the keys. Oh my gosh.
No one does that. Who pays cash for a car?
every time I drive my car, I'm just like, this is the train that horror movies bought.
That's so good.
That we talked when we began this podcast, we were really heavy into the floor. We Are Family, and we really talked about you and how you were a star. I was actually, Charlie and I talked how much we were rooting for you to really go far. You dominated like so many episodes where you had a decent portion of the floor. It made me nervous. I was like, oh, she's going to be a target, of course, because you want to get the largest piece for the money at the end of the episode. So we were rooting for you. We were fans, definitely.
Not what I wanted to happen. I was really hoping that the floor would choose me, I would battle, I would win, and I would go back and just kind of sit on like my 2 squares. But when we auditioned for the show, they asked us, what categories do you feel like you know more about than anybody else? And they said, pick 3. And I asked for horror movies. I did special professionally on the side for like 13 years. I've been in the haunting industry. Horror is my favorite genre of film. And they gave me brunch, which was also mind-boggling because we were specifically told, you will not be given a category that has to do with your day-to-day job. I was at that time running a brunch restaurant.
Wow.
And so when we found out brunch, and we didn't find out till the night before filming what our actual.
Wait, so you didn't really have time to research before the show?
About 2 to 3 weeks before filming, we got a list of all of the categories, like 100 categories. And what it was is it would have like your category and then the subgenres in that category. So it'd be like music, and then it would say like bands, rock stars, diva, stuff like that. And all you were told was what your general category was. So I knew that mine was cooking. Could have been spices, could have been foreign foods, could have been candy, could have been snacks, could have been brunch. I had no idea. But when I read the list of subcategories and saw brunch, I was like praying. I was like, give me brunch, give me brunch. And so when we got there and it was the night before and I found out I had brunch, I was flabbergasted and I was so excited. And my number one like goal was and my only thought process was make sure everybody knows that the brunch girl runs a brunch restaurant. That was my entire strategy. But that's also when I found out that there actually was a horror movie category, and it was very close to me. So my number one thought going into it was, no matter who had horror movies, whether it was a 1 square, a 2 square, a 50 square, if I had the opportunity to choose that and battle in that, I was going to, because I knew without a shadow of a doubt I could take it. And so it doesn't matter if it was Tom, who it ended up being, who I became very good friends with, or if it was Lindsay, or if it was Nick or Dave. It didn't matter. I was going to go for whoever had horror movies. It just unfortunately was Tom.
Was horror movies one of your first 3 you put in?
Yes, it was. So I put horror movies. This is really funny. So they wanted niche categories that they didn't think anyone else would put. So I said horror movies. I said CCM artists of the 90s and 2000s, which is contemporary music artists.
Yeah.
Like DC Talk, Newsboys, Michael Tate, Toby Mac, Kevin Max, because I'm actually friends with all of the members of DC Talk.
Well, that's awesome.
So I know Max very well. He's now an artist, by the way, very, very good painter. And so that was like my second one. And then my third one was Amish culture and lifestyle.
So you didn't even get one of your own 3.
Oh no.
Wait. Amish culture and lifestyle. Did you live in Pennsylvania?
No, but growing up, so I grew up in a very conservative Christian household, and that's when I became artists. I knew them backwards and forwards. I mean, you show me a Christian artist from the late 80s to the mid 2000s, I can basically tell you who they are, starting with from Amy Grant to Rebecca St. James to For King and Country, Michael W. Smith. I can name him just by looking at him.
Striper.
There you go. So I grew up fascinated by the Amish culture, and I read everything I could get my hands on about the Amish all through my teenage years and like my mid-20s. So I used to live near an Amish community in Missouri, and I befriended a bunch of them because I was running a shoe store at the time in this tiny little town called Kirksville. It's about an hour and a half from it's about 4 hours from St. Louis and about an hour and a half from Columbus, Missouri, or Columbia, Missouri. And they used to come in and buy their black leather boots from me. And I would order them and help them get like bulk discounts and whatnot. And I would go visit their community, especially like their bakery and stuff. And they would give me like shoe fly pie and, molasses cookies and, all the good stuff. And so I love the Amish culture. And so when they asked me for a niche category, I told them that. However, I was terrified going into it that they were actually going to give me birds. And I knew almost nothing about birds. And the reason I thought that was because in my second audition interview, I was specifically asked if I knew anything about exotic birds and if I did what I knew. Because one of the casting producers was obsessed with exotic birds and thought it would be really cool if they could find a contestant that knew something about birds. So I had a few birds of prey facts like stuck in my head randomly, and I just started spouting them off. So
and that ended up being a category, right?
It ended up being a category I inherited. So that's the only reason I knew anything, is because I had frantically studied it before the show because I was afraid they were going to give it to me.
That's insane. Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, at least unlike Jeopardy, at least you can kind of study for the show. If you go on like Jeopardy or Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, it's very hard to study. You don't know what to study.
Took the list that they gave us and I studied all of the categories that I knew the least about. So geography, I was trying to study maps. Flags, I was trying to study flags. Political figures, I was trying to study like presidents and stuff. I studied The Simpsons because I didn't.
Charlie's favorite category.
That was one of my favorite ones, definitely.
Well, we were really bummed because everyone asked, is it going to be Simpsons characters or is it going to be celebrities on The Simpsons? And they said like The Simpsons show, and then they changed it last second. The
celebrities
who originally had Simpsons as a category knows more about The Simpsons than anyone I have ever come across in my entire life, and she is utterly brilliant with it. Her name is Sarah, and I wish she could have played that category. She would have demolished anybody in it.
I would have loved to see that.
Had I been on your show, my category absolutely would have been 1980 sitcoms.
Oh, nice.
That is, gray hair.
Although they probably wouldn't have given it to you. So it sounds like
not true. Now, they wouldn't give me
correct
birds.
Correct me if I'm wrong. So you made a list of 3, but they didn't give you those. But then you were near horror movies on the board. So did they maybe put one of your 3 within striking distance, but you didn't give it? Or was that just a coincidence for you?
That I can't answer because I wasn't the only one that happened to. But it was random enough that a bunch of people weren't near anything that they knew about. But I got like bands. I could have done the bands category. I could have done that one. I could have done beverages.
Did anyone get one of their 3 that they submitted originally?
Yes. The guy that originally had was like rock stars or something. His name is Josh, and he knows anything and everything about rock bands and rock stars. And his whole like fun time and vacation time is spent like going to like different concerts and different venues around.
Awesome.
So he knew and he got his category, and a few people got their category. Like the birds lady, she wanted birds, she got birds. Simpsons lady, she wanted Simpsons, she got Simpsons. Lindsay, who was political candidates, asked for presidents, but instead of presidents, they made it political candidates. So she almost got what she wanted.
Yeah, she got it in the arena.
She was smart.
Exactly. So, and she's dating Tom now.
I saw that. That is awesome. You have a floor relationship. It's
I
awesome.
they credit me with
I love
so
that. So you're a matchmaker.
yeah, a little bit.
I love that.
They're the best couple, and I hope they get married someday because they are just the absolute best people in the entire.
Lovely. And
And
I don't know them like you do, but watching them on Instagram and traveling and just fantastic.
I love them so much. And Lindsay's father unfortunately passed away before the show aired, but
Oh,
on filming when when he got sick, and when they right before they released the very first trailer, they sent it to her so she could show her dad in the hospital.
Wow.
Oh, that
Got
just gave me goosebumps.
so he
Oh my
got
goodness.
there, and then like 3 days later they made it public. And so although he didn't get to see it, at least he got to see that. And that was really, really cool. The producers were just all of the
That's
producers,
awesome.
and they were so sweet, and they made sure that we were all taken care of as well as we could have been. Two of our contestants had their suitcases get lost.
Oh.
Oh no.
So they had like nothing. One of them had in her carry-on bag the outfit that she was going to wear for the show, but nothing else. So I was like, come to my room. I've got a curling iron. I've got a blow jar. I've got makeup. I've got everything else. Because like I said, I do makeup on the side. So I came fully prepared.
And for those that don't know, the show filmed in Ireland, so
Yeah.
not having
Dublin,
your
right?
suitcase could be a hindrance.
Oh gosh, it was awful. So it was Claire from Dallas and Liz from Iowa. Both of their suitcases got lost. So like every
Oh,
was wearing on the show was something that the wardrobe department like ran out in Dublin and bought and brought her and like had her try on, and that was it.
Wow.
So
yeah.
she was like wearing her
Claire
own
was
clothes.
right in front, right? She
Yeah.
was right in front. Yeah, she is great. Liz, I was great too. I remember some parts of it. Claire, I kind of talked with before your show aired, and can I ask a technical question because I'm a nerd like that? How long did you guys take to film? Like, how long did the show film?
5 days.
5 days.
We did.
Wow.
So it was supposed to be 2 or 3 episodes. It was supposed to be 2 episodes a day. But then the first day of filming, we had to work kinks out. We had to get everything figured out. So we only filmed one episode day one. Day two of filming, we filmed episodes 2 and 3. And then on the third day of filming, we filmed 4, 5, and 6.
I heard
All,
about that day.
all in one day. That was long. That was intense. And then we did like 7 and 8 and then 9 and 10.
Did you guys have days off, or was it 5 in a row?
No. So the way it worked is we flew to Dublin. It was a Sunday. We arrived on a Sunday. I arrived at 5:45 in the morning, and I got to the airport, and I just saw these like people, and we didn't know what we were allowed to say to like each other at that point because we didn't know. We were just getting off the plane. And I see people like holding the little like iPad things with names on it. And I walk up, and it's obviously just some lost Americans. And we're standing at like baggage claim, and I'm like, oh, you just get in? They're like, yeah. I'm like, oh, what are you in town for? And they're like, oh, And I'm like, oh. I was like, are you here for the same reason I'm here? And they're like, why are you here? And I'm like, game show. And they're like, yes. So we found that it was like 5:30 in the morning.
That sounds familiar a little.
Yeah.
Had that day Sunday to do anything we wanted. We had no obligation to the filming. We had no obligation to the corporation, nothing. So when everyone got to the hotel, they dropped all their stuff in the bags and in their rooms, went down, ate breakfast, and then we kind of started forming little groups. So a group of us, like my group, ended up going to like the Guinness Factory and Temple Bar and like all over Dublin that day. We got an email that day that said, tomorrow you need to come for your wardrobe call. And it was like everyone had their times. And then we had a mandatory meeting that night at like 7:30 where they were finally going to show us how the game is played and give us our categories. So if you made your photo call and got approved for wardrobe, you basically had the rest of the day before it and after it until the meeting at 7:30. And we got conflicting reports before the photo call shoot, where they were like, we need you to come with your makeup and your hair done. And then we got an email. It's like, no, you don't have to do makeup and hair. And then another one was like, yes, just do your hair. It was weird. And so, me being a makeup artist on the side, I went in with my makeup done to the T's. Like, I went full face, and I walked in and they loved it. And the makeup artists came over to me and they're like, can you recreate this every day? And I was like,
no.
So I think I might have been the only contestant that got to do my entire full face every single day. But that's also why I got to have a little bit more of my personality, like my pink eyeshadow. Like
I love that.
That's my signature, is I do a pink sparkly eyeshadow. And so that was really fun because it made me feel more like myself. And the jacket that I was wearing was actually an accident, because I don't know if you can see, but I have tattoos on my arms. They didn't know that. So I showed up in my pink shirt, short sleeve, and they're like, we can't have any tattoos showing. Do you have a jacket in your room? And I was like, I do. So I went and I grabbed my black cardigan and then my favorite jacket in the world, which is the one covered in stars. And I brought them down. It's like, I have these two, and they're like the stars. I was like, awesome. So I got to wear my favorite jacket that I feel really comfortable in on the show, and that was really, really great. So, and that was the funniest thing about the show, was every time I inherited a new category, and Rob would be like, Stephanie, how do you feel about this category? And I'd be like kids books. He's like, how do you feel about kids books? And I was like, oh, I was a nanny for 7 years, and I worked in the childcare, and I ran an after school program. And it got to the point where all the contestants started referring to me as Slumdog Millionaire.
I love that.
Because I had so much experience. And that was another thing on Reddit, was someone was like, how is this possible? And the way it's possible is from 2007 to like 2018, I consistently worked 2 or 3 jobs at a time. Usually one in a retail sector or a sales job of some sort, and then something in the food or restaurant industry. And then it was either something with an after school program. I was a gymnastics coach for 4 years, and I ran an after school program during that time, while I was also waiting tables and being a bartender. So things just coincided all the time, and that's how I got so much knowledge.
Life experience, right?
Basically, yeah. So,
That's
and
awesome.
I'm no longer at my restaurant that I was working at when I filmed, and I now run a beauty supply store.
You know how many jobs I've had? I've had a ton of jobs. I understand that 100%.
Yeah. I always tell people that my husband has the grown-up job and I have the fun jobs.
I think we all have that in common. We like kind of do different things, and I think it's awesome.
And it's super
Absolutely.
fun. I wouldn't change that for the world. So
Same. Yeah. It's fascinating to me to hear your experience, because I don't know about you, Charlie, but I'm kind of replaying ours as she's talking to see the similarities. And
yeah, I was wondering, when you were talking about the wardrobe, did you guys have like a few looks ahead of time that you brought with you there, and then at the actual dress rehearsal they picked from those, or did they provide you?
No. So we actually had to send in photos.
Yeah.
They gave us guidelines to follow, and then we would take photos in like different outfits. And so like I sent them like 3 different shirt options and jeans and like my sparkly tennis shoes, and they picked the pink one. So I show up in the already pre-approved outfit, and that's when they decided I needed sleeves. And they also decided that too many people were wearing blue denim. So the wardrobe department asked what size I wore. They went out and got me black pants. Just
You got to keep those?
Yeah, I got to keep them. So just to change it up a little bit. So that was the only difference for me. And that's how most people were, was everybody basically had gotten their stuff pre-approved before they showed up. And
My
then
buddy
if
Charlie here got a free shirt too.
a couple people had to have little tweaks when they arrived, but otherwise, for the most part, it was whatever they approved ahead of time. That's what we brought. And we had to bring 2 identical outfits. And we would wear one and they would clean one. And then we would switch the next day. And we would wear the clean one and they would clean the one that we wore the day before. And we left I left my shoes in there. And then what we did was, so going from the hotel to the studio every day, I basically wore the same outfit, and most people did. I wore like sweatpants and a t-shirt every day to and from, because I was only in it for an hour a day. So
yeah, we did similar. So just so you know, kind of we went to set in our street clothes. They had our clothes there, and basically we changed in these changing tents, and
yeah,
in between shows, right? In between shows, we had to wear these bibs over our clothes when we're eating.
giant plastic bibs that like covered our whole entire bodies, and they look kind of like weird trash bags.
Yeah,
At
like
some
rain
point they ran
ponchos.
out. We had trash
Yeah.
bags at some point.
Yeah.
We begged drinks, and everything is so different in the UK. So they finally got us Monsters, and they were like the little tiny mini cans of Monster. It was the cutest thing I've ever seen. I've like before, and they kept giving us Fanta, orange, like UK orange Fanta. And they would give us our Taytos, Taytos. They're potato chips, so Tato crisps. And the food was okay, but it was very bland. So they finally started bringing us like salt and pepper.
That's what we were well fed in Atlanta. You know, Atlanta.
So question for you guys. Did y'all stay in like the same hotel? Were you in a house? Like how did that?
So we on our show there were 2 hotels, and in one hotel were basically a bunch of contestants, and then the other
About
hotel were
90%.
90%, and the other hotel were alternates.
Oh,
And
okay.
Charlie and I were both alternates. We were alternates in the beginning on We Are Family. So we were on a hotel across the street where a majority of the cast was in another hotel across the street. And so we all went to set together in these giant buses. And it was about a 25-minute drive from the hotel in Lithia Springs to where our set was in Atlanta. We
Yeah,
filmed on the same set as like Snake Oil and
yeah. I thought that I think ours is about 20 to 30 minutes drive, because ours is our studio is right outside Dublin, but we all stayed in the same hotel. And whenever someone got eliminated, they would go back to the hotel. So every night after filming, everybody would meet in the bar. That's why we call it adult summer camp. We would meet in the bar, and anyone who won that episode that day was like, woohoo! And anyone that got eliminated, we had drinks and said our farewells and hugged, because I was the cutoff. So up until me in episode 7, from the first person eliminated till me, if you got eliminated in those first 6 episodes, or those first like 3 spots of episode 7, you flew home the next day. If you made it past me, you stayed till the end of filming, because there was only like 2 days left. So I had a lot of people fooled though, because nobody knows this, but when I flew home, I got stranded in Charlotte because of weather. And at 2 a.m., they were like frantically trying to find me a hotel, because I'd been traveling for 23 hours at that point.
my.
So I didn't come back to my city until the original date that I would have come back had I made it to the last day of filming. So everybody
Oh my goodness.
that I won the show or made it
They
all the
thought
way,
you won the show. Yeah.
because I didn't come back early.
Well, based on the way you were playing, that probably even hyped it up even more as the episodes aired.
Absolutely did. So then when episode 7 happened, we had a watch party every week, and I was kind of standing up in the back of the room during that episode. And as soon as it happened, everyone was like,
See, I was like that.
yeah.
I only know you from Instagram. And I was like, no.
But on a good note, I told everyone that if I had to go out, I wanted to go out in a good battle where I knew a lot of stuff. Had I gone out in one hit wonders, I would have looked like an idiot because I would have been passing left and right. So being in the first battle that made it down to 1 second,
Yeah, that was.
You played a great game.
that was
I hope in
okay.
the future they have an All Stars episode and bring you back because that would be great TV.
We want two. We want to have 2 episodes or two seasons where we want to do a season of the Battle of One and Dones. People that got eliminated during the first in their only battle, and then we want to have an All Stars.
Great ideas.
And
then maybe one episode of people that were on We Are Family.
and a Battle of One and Dones and then an All Stars would be really, really cool. And if they do more seasons of the show, it would definitely give enough for a Battle of the One and Dones and a Battle of All Stars. So we just need to keep it going. But considering what our viewership was, it's been absolutely mind-boggling how popular the show is. And we all thought that we were doing something really neat and fun, and we thought that it was going to be a hit. We didn't know how big of a hit it was.
Listen, when SNL does a parody of your show, it's a hit. Period.
Yeah, you could say that again.
But me personally, that was
I know. And then I see like there's a picture of Jenna from The Office with you.
and that is just insane. And so I'm a big nerd, and I go to Comic Cons every year. And I'm going to my big Comic Con that I do every year in Houston called Comic Flu Day. And I'm working with my gaming group out of Houston called Ultimate Werewolf. It's a social deduction game. And I'll be working, and I'm planning on wearing my floor jacket around the con just in case.
See if people recognize you.
Yeah, but it's going to be really interesting because there are going to be obviously celebrities. So I'm kind of curious if anybody has seen it.
Oh, they definitely have.
They've seen it. Your show was extremely popular.
Well, our show, so the last article that was written about our show in March, it gave us a total count of views across all platforms. 1.6 billion views.
Excellent.
That's mind-boggling. And the craziest part of it is there is a chance that our show could be nominated for an Emmy Award.
That's amazing. I think it's well deserved. I thought the host was great, but I thought I love Rob Lowe, but I thought you guys were fantastic contestants. I love the camaraderie. I can never say that word. I love the back and forth between you all. The chemistry was amazing, but and we hear already. I saw casting notice. It's not a surprise that season 2 is on the agenda. So
season 2 for sure. I don't know all the details about it. I'm hoping there's going to be a 3 and a 4 and a 5 and a 6.
Hopefully.
But yeah,
I mean, it was a huge hit. I don't see how there won't be.
There has to be, and and I still get recognized around town here and there, and I'm still getting text messages from like people that I've worked with in the past, especially in the restaurant industry. They're like, I just got caught up on the show. I can't believe this. This is insane. Of all people, I'm not surprised it was you. And that's been the number one remark is people are like, I'm not surprised. I have a tendency to have really crazy things happen to me. And I end up in really crazy, weird situations that normal people shouldn't end up in with like celebrities and stuff. And so
we have a lot in common.
One like added to my list, and I ended up at a party with like Matthew McConaughey and his wife and the Foo Fighters and Dave Grohl and Shania Twain and Lisa Ober. And then all by accident. And then I ended up the next weekend at a party with the Foo Fighters and Dave Grohl that basically I was invited to by Dave Grohl himself, which was mind-boggling.
Let me pick my mouth off the floor.
Because that doesn't happen to normal
off the floor.
So,
do you like that? Yeah.
That was good. But no, long story short, there's something called ACL, which is Austin City Limits Festival.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
Catering. Just another side gig. picked up a job with a celebrity chef out of San Antonio, and I was working VIP catering for attendees, no musicians. And we were off every night in time to see the headliner. So, and it was 2 weekends. So the first Saturday, it was Foo Fighters. They were headlining both Saturdays. And I was just standing off to the side, listening and talking to this guy. And this guy's like, "Hey, do you want to go up on the catwalk? I've got a pass." And I'm like, yes. So I'm like catwalk dangling above the stage, watching Dave Grohl rock out.
Wow.
That is so amazing.
I went downstairs with this guy. He introduced me to all of his friends. And they're like, "Hey, why don't you come with us?" I was like, no, I don't have a pass. It's fine. They're like, "Just come on. We'll see if we can get you in." I was like, okay. So I follow him back to like the really secluded, like back area. And of course they won't let me in. And this one of their other friends came up behind me and they were like, "Why aren't they letting Steph in?" And they were like, "Oh, she doesn't have a pass." And he reaches in his pocket and he actually pulled out, hold on, see if I can find it real quick.
I am fascinated.
He pulled out this Foo Fighters laminate.
Stephanie is showing a Foo Fighters laminate for our listeners. Wow.
And he goes, "Oh, one of these? Here, I have an extra one." And he put it on my neck, grabbed my hand, and dragged me into the back. Next thing I know, I'm standing at a table covered in pizza, and Matthew McConaughey is holding a pizza box open for me, asking if I needed a slice. I was like, "Yeah, that'd be great." He's like,
all right.
He said, "All right." Fun story. He was a little tipsy because it was the day that the UT lost the Red River Shootout.
Oh.
And, so the reason I found out that I got back there is the guy that I was talking to was friends with Rami, the keyboardist for Foo Fighters. And so they took me into Rami's dressing room and introduced me. And I realized I've met Rami before at other like backstage things and didn't realize who he was. So
you are a fascinating individual, my friend.
So we go out to like the main area and there's Lisa Loeb and we started talking. And then, Corey Feldman showed up.
Because.
So I was talking to Corey Feldman. He's like, "Well, what are you doing tomorrow night?" I was like, "Oh, I have to work here." He's like, "Well, I have a show tomorrow night. I'm going to put you on the guest list. If you get off in time, come, we'll party, we'll hang out." I couldn't make it.
That's amazing.
So,
and you met Rob Lowe.
I met Dave Grohl. And
that's amazing.
At the end of the night, I tried to hand the pass back to the gentleman that gave it to me because I wasn't trying to be greedy. I was like, "Hey, thanks so much." And Dave saw me and stopped me. And he was like, "Hey, aren't you working here next week?" And I was like, "Well, yeah." He's like, "You should keep it and come back." And I was like, "Don't tell me twice." So fast forward to the next weekend, my husband is with me. And I only had one pass. And if anything, I was going to give it to him so he could go meet Dave. It's like one of his musical idols. But we got separated during the Foo Fighter show. So I ended up on the stage, backstage, off by the sound booth, watching the concert. And he was like in the audience of like thousands of people. And there was another musician there who was on crutches with his wife. And I was just kind of talking to them and made a comment about, "Oh, I wish I had a pass to get my husband back here." And the guy on crutches ran out of beer. So I was like, "Hey, let me go grab you one real quick." So I ran off because it was downstairs. Like I had to go downstairs to get him beer. Got him beer, came back, and his wife goes, did you say you're trying to get someone back here?" I was like, "Yeah, I was trying to get a pass for my husband, but it's totally fine." She's like, "We have an extra one," and gave me a pass. I went and got my husband. My husband got to meet Dave Grohl.
Kismet.
Wow.
Kismet. That was supposed to happen. That
crazy.
Was meant to be. That's
the
amazing.
Best part was when Dave came up to us because he was going around to everyone to say hi. He came up and I was like, "Hey, Dave, great show." He's like, "Oh, thanks." And I was like, "Yeah, it's really nice to see you again." And he goes, "Oh my God, you came back. I'm so glad to see
you." He remembered you.
Love it. And then he introduced us to his wife and told us about his trip to the Space Center in NASA in Houston for like 20 minutes and nerded out about the Space Center.
Yeah, I think Charlie and I are nerding out about this right now because we're both Foo Fighter fans. That's amazing. Wow.
And a lot of really weird stories like that. Like when I ended up on James Brown's tour bus and I ended up on stage with OK Go and I ended up at a party with Blue October and stuff like this. And it just randomly happens all the time.
For celebrity meetings, you win. I bow down to you. Your resume is amazing. I thought having lunch with Paula Abdul was a big deal, but this is pretty. Yeah, you win. You're amazing.
Well, I work in the industry too. That's the other
Yeah.
thing. The last movie I worked on was a Will Smith movie. I did COVID Safety for Emancipation, which filmed outside of New Orleans.
Yeah. Wow, that was a good movie.
So I saw Will every day. We talked every day. And these things just randomly happen. I don't seek it out. I don't fangirl, and I don't gush. And
Mhm.
that's part of it is I just play it cool. But then afterwards, I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe that happened.
Yeah, you treat
And
them like normal humans when you meet them.
I might end up fangirling a little bit at this comic palooza I'm going to, though, because they announced that the Back to the Future cast is coming.
Oh, you're
Oh
talking to the
my
biggest Back to the
God.
Future fan in the world, and Tim.
Stephanie, I am a huge Back to the Future fan. That is like I don't have the poster up here, but that is, Charlie said, that is mine. So the entire Michael J. Fox, Christopher Lloyd, Lena,
Christopher Lloyd, and then it's going to be the principal.
Leah Thompson.
No,
oh, the principal. Oh, the
the
principal.
But
Mr. Strickland.
Mr. Strickland, but I'm actually meeting Leah Thompson at a Comic-Con here in San Antonio a few months later.
That's the only cast member I've met. She's a sweetheart.
She's amazing. And then
Yeah.
I'm meeting Sean Astin this year.
Oh,
And
Lord of the Rings, among many other things.
Rudy.
So I'm a huge Goonies nerd. Like, I was born in '82. The Goonies is one of the first movies I ever remember watching. And I get to meet the Fratelli brothers. I can't wait. I'm so geeking out. And I get to meet, I'm going to meet LeVar Burton this year.
Wow.
Shatner, Hayden Christensen.
I met Shatner. Shatner's awesome. Well, he's Shatner. You know what I mean? Shatner is Shatner. LeVar Burton's going to be at a Comic-Con too coming up. Amazing.
It's Space Con, so Hayden Christensen's going to be there.
Oh, I love that. Star Wars. Yeah.
They're doing all Star Wars, all Star Trek, and then we're going to another Comic-Con and we're going to meet Jeremy Renner.
Ooh, nice.
The biggest celebrity I ever met was before she died, rest in peace, the great Princess Leia herself, Carrie Fisher, who was unbelievable. Yeah.
I'm a massive Star Wars nerd.
That was like a year before she passed.
Oh, I have 2 lightsabers currently, and I'm going to get more at this con.
I'm a Star Wars geek too. Star Trek too. I like Star Trek too. That's why Shatner.
So I was excited about LeVar Burton. I'm like,
yeah.
I get
Geordie LaForge.
So, well, I've already met. I always forget his Michael, the guy who played Worf, Michael
Dorff.
I met him. He's amazing. I've met the lady who played Beverly Crusher.
Oh, I love her too.
So,
did you meet Will Wheaton yet?
No, I haven't.
Big fan of Big Bang Theory too. He was great on that show.
I did meet Lance Reddick though before he passed away in a hallway, because when I work Comic-Cons, I get all access. So a lot of times I just run in the back hallways because it's easier to get from point A to point B. And I just saw him and he was like, hey, let's take a picture. And I'm like, I'm not going to say no.
And you're saving buku bucks because I think I spent like $200 on a Shatner picture. So yeah.
Well, that's most of the pictures that I have with celebrities I've gotten for free, basically. Like, I've got Jason Momoa.
Oh, love it.
We did pay for Andrew Garfield. That one was amazing. But it's just one of those things where being in the entertainment industry, and I grew up acting, I grew up singing. I'm a theater kid. It was my escape when life was crummy when I was a kid, was movies and especially Broadway shows and musical theater. And so getting to meet people that I watched growing up that also gave me something to love and to hold on to when things were tough. It's a joy to be able to tell them what their work means to me. And like when I met Alice Cooper, oh my God.
Oh man, you're talking my language.
That was amazing.
Was he playing golf at the time, or was this at a concert?
It was at a Comic-Con.
At a Comic-Con, wow.
He did a Comic-Con appearance 2 years ago, and I got him to sign my pop because I collect signed pops. And
Charlie.
Oh so you've probably been listening to me for about 10 years. And I was like, dude, I've been listening to you for 30 years. He did not believe me when I told him how old I was. It was awesome.
You tell him, feed my Spankenstein.
Yeah,
School's out. Yeah, come on.
and that's what's cool for me is, I was a geek and I didn't have a lot of friends growing up, and books and movies and plays were my escape. And so getting to meet the people that were my imaginary friends, so to speak, when I was a kid is a really cool thing as an adult. So
I think that's terrific. I didn't branch off and do theater or act or anything like that. I wanted to, but I relate to so much of what you're saying. And Charlie and I are big movie fans, and that is a wonderful escape for 2 hours just to kind of get away from. I turn off my phone and I just like, and we were talking about how it is going in a theater and seeing a movie and just chilling out, and all you're thinking about is the characters.
and certain TV shows, I definitely have like the TV shows that I can sit down and watch over and over and over again.
What are some of your favorites?
Oh God. So you're gonna laugh at my ultimate favorite, but I'm a huge Buffy head. I love Buffy. Um, I'm a big Angel fan. I actually have a tattoo from the Angel series.
Same universe, right? Buffy and Angel are spinoff.
And then my number one nerd show is from the 90s, and it's a family show. And I know I've seen the show so much and I know it so well that you know how when a show is starting an episode, you get like a little bit of a blurb and then it goes into like the credits for the opening credits. With this show, if I turn my TV on and it's on, oh, hold on. Are you there?
Yeah, we're here.
So if this show is on my TV and I turn it on, I can tell you what episode what it is, from what season, and what the title is within 10 seconds.
Okay, now we're gonna play a game. We're gonna try to guess what the show is. You in for that, Charlie?
Yeah, you said 90s nerd show, family show.
Family
so
show.
I'm thinking maybe Family Matters.
Was it on
No.
ABC Friday nights?
No, it was on Saturdays.
It was on
Saturdays.
Saturdays.
Family show on Saturday.
Hanging with Mr. Cooper?
Nope. I'll take
the Golden Girls.
Nope.
It was not the 90s, but
woman.
What?
What'd you say?
Lead character is a woman.
Lead character is a woman. 90s Saturday.
Does this air on a major network?
Yes.
So Saturday, back in the 90s, there were still new shows on Saturday. Now they don't do that anymore.
Correct. It ran for seasons and then had 2 post-series movies.
It wasn't Ally McBeal, was it?
Nope.
The X-Files isn't a family show. So
No, 2 movies.
2 movies.
That honestly is throwing me off even more.
So like made for TV movies. So let me see. It has to do with medicine.
Oh, Doogie Howser?
Nope.
Oh no.
Even nerdier.
Nerdier than Doogie Howser.
Yeah.
Oh,
okay, here's a really easy giveaway.
Okay.
The main character is a British actress known for a very popular movie that she did with Christopher Reeve.
Oh, is this Dr. Quinn Medicine Woman?
I was thinking
That's
that in my head,
it.
but I didn't think that was on Saturdays.
Yeah, I was a Quinn.
Wow.
And the coolest thing was one of the makeup artists that worked on our show, The Floor, worked on a couple of films and was Jane Seymour's personal makeup artist.
Jane Seymour was fantastic.
I got to spend like 45 minutes just picking this makeup artist's brain, and she confirmed that Jane Seymour is as nice in person as she comes across on TV.
Wow.
And I love it. That's all I wanted to hear.
Small world.
I'm going to make you feel better about yourself. I love Touched by an Angel. So there you go.
Good one. But
Yeah,
no,
same.
I'm just a nerd.
I love that. I remember that show. I didn't get into it. I did like Little House on the Prairie when I'm a little younger. But
I watched that. Yeah.
Laura Ingalls.
Yeah.
That's
But
awesome.
I loved TV growing up. It was my escape.
Speaking of TV, current TV, I know you're watching this show. See, I do transitions. Sometimes they're good, sometimes they're bad. This is a good transition. You watch Deal or No Deal Island, don't you?
Oh my gosh, yes. Yes. If you came to me and you were like, you can be on any reality competition show that you want, that's the one I would choose. It's so dramatic. And I mean, come on. It's just so good.
It
And the
is.
Are
fact,
you current? Are you current on the show?
yes. And then the
Oh,
fact, like Boston Rob is just, because I'm a huge Survivor too, Survivor fan. So I
Sur-
remember Rob from his first episode. I also remember when he was on The Amazing Race.
yes, with Amber.
Yes.
With
So
Amba. I can't do the accent, but
Amber. So
Amba.
I remember all of that. And then you go and you have the King of Nerds as the host. Yes,
Joe.
I want to be on that show. And I want to
Yeah.
play Dungeons and Dragons with him so bad.
Yeah.
Oh,
So I guess I was going to ask this next question I was going to ask, but I think it's pretty much a given. Who are you rooting for?
yeah.
I'm rooting for Rob and Aaron. I kind of rooting for both of
I
them, but
have Aaron. But if
what?
Aaron take it, it's okay if Rob does. But I want Aaron to take it. I mean, no offense, but Boston Rob has had enough
Yeah, he's
fortune.
won plenty.
Yeah.
Share it with Aaron. Give Aaron something.
Well, did you see the previews for the next episode? It looks like Aaron's going to start plotting a little bit against the Boston Rob there. So.
But
We knew it was coming at some point.
that's the show I want to do.
So, what did you think of what have you thought about it so far as gameplay? The last episode was interesting.
I think that it's a phenomenal concept, and I think that they've managed to execute it very well. Because I didn't know what to expect when I first heard about it, so I was very skeptical going in. But having watched how things played out, the fact that it's like trivia and like Survivor all together, and you've got the cutthroat, and you've still got your little clicks, and you've got all of this stuff together. It's just so good. It's like high school on an island. It's fantastic.
More so than even I like Survivor. I've just got back into it this season, but more so than Survivor, you know.
Oh,
But this season of Survivor is amazing. But we can talk about that in a minute. But
the island just brings a whole new aspect to it, and that's what's so cool about it. And it's just real people trying to change their lives,
And the
and
that's
prize
always
money's
brutal.
getting huge.
prize money's massive.
What is
And
it at 8 million now or something?
It
like
it
that?
doubled. It doubled
Yeah.
on the most recent episode. I mean, they added another 4.4 something.
And that's the one other thing that we wish was different about our show was like Deal or No Deal Island and like Survivor and Big Brother and all of these other things like that. You kind of get to know the contestants and like a little bit about their backstory and why they're trying to win the money and why they want to do this and that. They didn't tell any of our backstories.
Yeah,
So
we can relate to that.
Yeah, that's the problem with 81 and 100 contestants. There's just so many people.
Yeah.
had they some of our backstories, there would have been, I think, even more interest from the viewers because you would have really had people that you were rooting for, different reasons. And we had a cancer survivor show that hadn't been able to work because of the cancer treatments. We had another contestant that had had 3 different brain surgeries for tumors. Like there was a contestant who was trying to get prize money to replace money lost in a custody battle. Stuff like that. Like there's all these different facets that none of the viewers got to see, but when you watch Deal or No Deal Island or Survivor or The Amazing Race or Big Brother, you get to see that personal side come out. And that's the one thing that I wish they would put more into our show.
We talked about that too. I believe story is a important part of any game show. When you're rooting for a contestant or reality show, when you're rooting for a contestant to know where they're coming from. When I was on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire or Wheel of Fortune, there was some of that backstory there. People knew who I was, right? But
That,
like Charlie said, with 180 something contestants, it's hard to do that. If I was to have one suggestion for a new season of We Are Family or The Floor, it would be, as exciting as it is to have so many contestants, I would cut it in half and dig deeper into the story. And on Floor, it's hard to do that, but they could do pre-packages and stuff and
yeah.
extend
or
the
less
episodes.
battles and up the number of episodes.
Yeah.
Like for me, when people see me and they hear me say, "Oh, Mama needs a new car," it's because we're a one car family and we need a car. It's not on a nice new car to show off. Or when Steve chose to split the prize money with me, I wasn't lying. He literally is paying for my honeymoon to Europe.
That was amazing. That was a great moment.
You know, and it's things like that. And one of the things they didn't show was when at the end of my last episode, Rob asked me, he's like, "So where are you going on this honeymoon?" It's like, "We're going to Paris in Germany in December to go to all the Christmas markets." And I was like, "We're going to send Steve a cuckoo clock from Germany." But then they cut all that out. So you don't get to see that like little like personalized part of it. And that was the one bummer thing. So, and I'm really bummed that during the airing of it, they didn't make mention of the Floormans, because Tom and Lindsay were already a couple by the time the show started airing. All the producers knew it. They even asked them to send in pictures of them together. And we were hoping that they might, show some of that. And they did.
It would be nice. Shout out to the social media team at Fox. Maybe do webisodes for the next seasons of We Are Family, The Floor, so they get to know the people more. I think that would be great. Let them film behind the scenes when the show is actually going on, and kind of do that.
Yeah, that's what we all think. And then they also had little things where they on TikTok they had a very short little post-win interview with Tom. And he's like, "I can't believe I just won $20,000. They did that with every single one of us episodal winners, and his was the only one they showed.
Is there a way you could get your copy from them? Did you? No.
I don't know, which is fine. But I'm like, those are the things I wish they would have shown during the airing of the show.
Yeah.
So
same. We feel the same way. It would have been nicer to. It was a different show. We were more in the audience guessing, and you guys were battling head to head. But yeah, I definitely, watching your show there, I think you got a rooting interest on the contestants that were there for multiple rounds of play. Like I was rooting for you, Jacqueline, all the way in the corner.
I know.
What a great, by the way, if you're going to win the floor, be all the way in the corner. Like, we were talking about that.
So I don't know what you know about the floor, but it originated in the Netherlands.
I watched it before it aired. Yeah.
So do you know about the person that won the Netherlands episode?
I do not.
That won the season of the floor in the Netherlands, it ended up being one person like Jacqueline, but instead of two squares, they had a single square. And someone else had 99 squares on the floor.
Oh my goodness.
The single square occupant won.
Wow. And that was their first and only battle the whole time.
Only battle, and they won the whole show.
Did they have the same rule where the randomizer only picked between people not battling before, or was that just...
We don't know. We don't know that. All we know is that the person that won the Netherlands had one square and then won.
But that is, sometimes you think, oh, I'm going to be all the way in the corner. I'm only going to be able to battle one or two people. But the upside of that is you're all the way in the corner. And if you battle one person and get successful, you're there.
Yeah. I was hoping, because I was on the edge of the board, I was hoping that was going to play well for me. It didn't, because of Tom being Mr. Awesome and having all these squares. But
you did okay for yourself, though, in the end.
You did.
Every time I drive to work, I'm not mad at it.
You were definitely, and I'm not saying this because you're a hero, you were definitely one of the standout people on that show, and I was legit sad when you were left.
Oh, yeah.
I got a
And
lot.
to your point about, not getting to know them that well with the backstories, we did kind of get to know a little more than others because you had been doing well. So it was kind of natural to just kind of keep rooting for you.
Yep. And when I got off the show, I got lucky. I didn't have any creeps being like, "Oh, you're so pretty, blah
Oh,
blah."
good.
A lot of just random people that reached out to me after I was off the show, and they're like, "Dude, we love you. Like, we loved watching you. This was amazing. We were so bummed." And I cannot tell you how many messages I got post elimination that just said, "That wasn't a smoker."
I know
They're
that people don't understand when you're there under the lights. It's a totally different experience.
but they're referring to the fact that I couldn't identify smoker, and they're like, "That's not a real smoker. A smoker doesn't look like that." And like, those were the messages I was getting.
Yeah.
It's so funny to me.
Yeah.
So
Then I can't remember who else had a battle, but someone didn't get credit for saying like chips when they said potato. And then they gave someone else credit for something that was nowhere near. It's like, where was the balance on a couple of those?
Consistency. Yeah.
So, and that's kind of what I'm curious about for season 2 is, are they going to hone in on that a little bit more? Like, are they going to a little bit more across the board? How's it going to go?
So your show, the floor filmed in late summer, right? In like August, I think.
So I arrived in Dublin on like July 30th and left, and I ended up back in Texas because of the delay on like August 9th.
So between the time the show wrapped, which was August 9th, and in January when it aired, did your mind race like, oh, trying to remember everything that kind of happened to see how it played off? Because you tend to forget some things, right?
No, I forgot everything. So
Yeah.
I said it on the show when I won my first 20, which was, "Is this real life? I feel like I'm in a fever dream." And that became kind of the moniker for the show, is it feels like a fever dream. And so what was fun was I was wondering what I didn't perceive on set in the filming. So watching back the episodes that I was in was really cool, because there was definitely stuff that I had completely blanked on. Because I got so into the zone that that's all I thought about. Was I was like when I'm standing on the floor and it's not my turn, I just kept thinking about the categories around me, and I kept going over stuff in my head. That's all I was doing, because I was trying to stay prepared and in the moment. And that was the only way I knew how to do it.
It's interesting, and Charlie, I don't know if you want to speak to this too. It's you second guess yourself after the fact. Like you'll be home for weeks and go, oh, I should have done that, I should have done that, and you just replay it.
Yeah, all the time. And so and then, it's just one of those things where, it's just something I did. And then I forget that people are watching it at home. So I was at work like the day after an episode, and I kept my hair black like I had it on the show until after my final post episode interview on my local TV. As soon as I did my last interview, I dyed my hair. Up until that point, I was having people come in on the daily basis. They'd be like, "Are you on the floor?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, I am. Sorry, yeah, I forgot." Like, because it's another thing that I did. And so it was that type of like, "Oh yeah, I did. That's me."
One thing
So
I don't doubt is you'll be on another show. I have
I hope
absolutely no doubt.
I hope so. What I really want to have happen from this, I'm hoping that I can find an agent, because I really want to get into voiceover work and like children's TV. I would love to do like cartoon or like a PBS show, or do something in the voice actor, sector, not necessarily with my face on screen, but I think it'd be really fun to do like a character voice or something.
I would love that. That would be great.
That's my long-term hope. But I'll go on any show that wants me. So Deal or No Deal Island, come on.
You
Come
hear
get
that,
me.
casting people? She will go on any show that wants her, and sign her up.
Really fun in Big Brother too. So
I love Big Brother. Well, Charlie and I are huge Big Brother fans too, without a doubt.
I've watched since season 1.
Oh,
So,
Eddie McGee.
oh yeah.
Eddie McGee. Oh, that was a very different season, that first season.
And what
Yeah,
Mike
me
Book,
too.
I've watched
Mike Boogie.
I've watched the people that have ended up falling in love and getting married, and now there's like Big Brother babies. So yeah.
Did you remember in the first season they had America Online and she used to talk, Julie used to talk to this lady
Yes.
about the internet? It was so new.
And one of the best Big Brothers that one of the best seasons I've ever seen, and it was a short season, was from when COVID started.
Oh yes, All
And they were
Stars.
in the house and they had to like tell them what was going on, because the biggest thing is you don't know what's going on in the outside world when you're on Big Brother. So for them to break the fourth wall like that was a first, and it was amazing. And that was just absolutely crazy to watch.
Oh yeah, definitely. So you watching the season of Survivor?
It's on my list. I haven't started it yet, but I'm about to.
We won't spoil it for you, but it's crazy.
Everybody that I know is like, you need to get caught up. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna get on that next. Don't worry, I promise.
That was Tim a couple weeks back, and I think maybe 4 or 5 episodes in, he caught up. Nice. After I kept bothering him.
Yeah, I haven't watched Survivor, and I would say about 10 years. And Charlie kept saying, you need to watch it, and this season is good. Tonight's episode, I won't tell you, but it was good. It was good.
Yeah.
We went on a little trip because fun fact is about me is I'm a workaholic. And so like when I went to go film the show in Ireland, I used my PTO from work to go film it. And then I came back and immediately went back to work. That was the last break from work that I've had.
Wow.
So my husband and I took 6 whole days off. And we went to Atlanta actually to go visit my aunt and uncle. And so after that, I have like a whole list of stuff that I'm gonna get caught up on.
When did you go to Atlanta?
We were just there a week ago. So what we did was we got in the car and we drove from San Antonio to New Orleans, because I used to live in New Orleans. And we spent the night there, saw some friends, went to Atlanta for a few nights, came back to New Orleans for a night, saw some more friends, and then back to San Antonio.
Wow.
New Orleans is my favorite city in the entire world, and I miss it every single day.
How long is that drive to New Orleans from there?
7.5 hours, and then it's another 7 hours from New Orleans to Atlanta, so it's like the perfect halfway point. And I got to see friends that I haven't seen since I moved in 2021, so it was really, really nice.
I that's on my list of places I want to go to is New Orleans. Have you ever been, Charlie?
I have not.
Oh, yeah. It's amazing. And if you are ever told don't go for Mardi Gras, don't listen to that and go for Mardi Gras. But the biggest thing to know is if you ever go for Mardi Gras, go to real Mardi Gras, go to the uptown parades, don't go to Bourbon Street.
Yeah, that's what we've heard too.
Uptown, I lived uptown. My street deaded into Audubon Park. And it's a whole nother world there. And it's the biggest small city that I've ever been in. And I love that town. I used to ride my bike all over the city. And I miss it. I miss it so much. I had to evacuate from 3 different hurricanes while I lived there. One of them was a Category 4, and it took out my house for 22 days.
Ooh, wow.
That's when we were filming. We had to go on hiatus, and it was an Apple production. And if I ever have an opportunity to work on another Apple production, I will, because they took such good care of every single member of that crew, from the smallest member of the crew to the most important person.
What was that production called again?
Emancipation.
Oh, Emancipation.
That was the Will Smith movie on Apple.
And they actually got shuttle buses. And if you couldn't afford to evacuate, they shuttled anybody that needed it to hotels in Atlanta and paid for them to be in the hotels. So I could afford to evacuate. So I drove home to Austin. I put my dog in the car at like 10:30 at night, got in the car and drove through the night till I got back to Austin. But what really got me was we were on hiatus for like 6 weeks. And I was only on the production for 4 of those 6 weeks of hiatus because I was starting a new permanent full-time job. And the production knew that I was going to go do this job at this date. I had my contract date set. They paid our full salaries for the entire time we were on hiatus, including me. And they paid me an extra week of salary so that I didn't go without having a paycheck between the film and my new permanent job.
That's a great production.
And I would work for Apple Productions in a heartbeat, doing whatever they wanted me to.
They take care of their people.
I've worked on 15 different film productions, and I've never worked on one like that. That was the best production I've ever worked on.
That's awesome.
That's really cool.
You have lived such an interesting life so far. I am excited to see what's next on the horizon for you.
The funny thing is, my husband and I met online, and on our first date, I was like kind of going through some of my stories because he was trying to get to know me, and he's like, "You're the most interesting person I've ever met," and I'm like, "Oh, thanks." And now we're married.
I love that. When did you guys get married?
We got married March of 2023.
March what?
25th.
Oh, we're March 7th. We're March 2.
So we got engaged on December 25th, 2022, and we got married months later. And
wow.
we like to say we're a tender unsuccess story.
I love that. A tender and unsuccess story. I love that.
Tender, especially in your 40s, but oh well.
Hey.
Thanks for having me. I'm sorry if I talked too much.
No, this was
we
great.
love it. This is great. I've had a ball listening to you.
Anytime you want me on, let me know.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
I loved it. You know, you had a lot. Our cast really loved your show. So you guys had a lot of fans. You know, there was at one point I was proposing that we do a trivia off between our casts and stuff like that. So
great. Oh, that would have been so fun.
Right?
I know that a bunch of us watched your show too, so that definitely would have been fun for a bunch of us.
Yeah, it was a different show, but same. Like if you know pop culture, it was fun to play along, and there was some excitement in that studio for sure.
The episode that I really wish I had been on your show for was with James Vanderbeek, because he lives outside of Austin now, and I follow him on Instagram, so I know what all of his kids look like.
So you knew it was his daughter.
You knew as soon as you saw the daughter.
I saw her. I was like, it's James Vanderbeek's daughter. Like, I knew that kid because she is the perfect little tiny image of his wife. So, but no, it's been super fun. Thank you so much for having me, guys.
Yeah, thanks for coming on.
Thank you, Stephanie Ross, for joining us this week on Around the Bases, the pop culture and sports podcast with your host,
Charlie Seymour.
And I'm Tim Sternberg. Thanks again, Stephanie.
And if you've been living under a rock, make sure you go watch The Floor. But I'm sure you have. It's fun. So
it's on Hulu.
Follow me on Instagram, and I'm on TikTok, so hit me up.
All right, until next time, have a great week, everybody. We'll see you next week. Bye, everybody.
Bye.